The Upgrade technology columnist Lance Ulanoff. Lance, good to see you. Your reaction to Zuckerberg's comments?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't see.
Should he step down? I'm not surprised either. But I mean, is there a push now
honestly,
wanting him out?
There might be. Yeah, I mean, I think that yes, but I think it would be highly disruptive to the business, and in fact, even for investors, I don't think it would be a good thing. It's you know, this is not somebody who's sort of a figurehead and not deeply involved. He's an engineer who knows this product, who obviously built it from the ground up. You know, we have one executive, Elliot Schrage, I think his name is, who's leaving, head of policy, but he decided he was announcing he was leaving before the Definers thing broke. It was actually with Cambridge Analytica, and that may be it. Sheryl Sandberg, I've actually believed for some time that she was going to go, but for other reasons. I thought that she might pursue like a political career or just general writing and public. Like, she doesn't have to do this, but Mark Zuckerberg relies on her heavily. I think that they have a very close, you know, when you look at some of the stories that have been written about their relationship in previous years, they're best friends. They're really close. And he relies on her heavily. Initially, it was to be the adult in the room. Now he's an adult, too. He gets it. Yeah. He will never be comfortable on camera. I don't think he's lying about his intentions, but I do think that he is in a little bit of a sort of a fight mentality right now, that this is a war for the future of his company.
Well, I just want to point out, I said this yesterday, this happened back in September, the two co-founders of Instagram, the most important growth engine at Facebook, left. And were essentially, they didn't like the way that Mark Zuckerberg and his cronies were starting to step on their product. They were given a lot of autonomy in running that after it was purchased for a song, by the way. And now they're gone, and it remains to be seen whether, again, because, again, if they can foul things up at Facebook, they will.
Well, look, those people left because it was about monetization. You know, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, they were saying they have to better monetize Instagram, WhatsApp, the Oculus business. And the people who were running it were maybe not so into the idea of integrating ads and other commerce opportunities.
Here's my issue. The biggest issue for Facebook is how they have marketed it for years, that, oh, we're just about building a global community. Let's all join hands. They're America's largest publisher. They're in the business of making money and harvesting people's most personal information and essentially selling it. Well, so again, his horse hooey that comes out of his mouth when he gives interviews, it doesn't line up with this vast business that is multiples bigger than even Disney.
You've described other tech businesses like Google, you know, which is about, you know, all about selling people's data, their search habits to drive a business, which started with the line of don't be evil, right? That's what Google was.
Which they dropped. Which they are evil in some ways.
Which they knew it was stupid. That's why they dropped it.
Maybe they shouldn't censor conservative voices.
Facebook, you're absolutely right. Facebook is a business. It has to be a business. But what are they going to do every day and say, we're in the business of making money? No, their business it's founded on communication of ever-widening groups of people. He still wants to connect the world. You said before, or I think it was you said before, they still do more good than bad, and I actually believe that. And here's the thought I come back to. Here's the thought I come back to every single day. If Facebook goes away, you know, say it really just goes bang down, that's not going to happen.
Go away.
But if it something would rise up in its place to say, we are not going to be a society without that kind of social platform to rely on.
But they didn't really do that many changes. Did they really do that many changes? I mean, the change in terms of, oh, you can appeal being taken off the platform. That's how they're reacting to people upset that they're taken off the platform. Just appeal it.
Those conversations are fascinating to me because it makes it sound as if they can spot these things easily. You know, 2.5 billion people use Facebook. It is worse than a needle in a haystack, and I think this is
that part. So everyone's like, oh, we didn't know. They have all the top tech people, all the engineers. They know this is the delusion that everyone had, that they're somehow just selling targeted advertising. That was like 8-10 years ago. It's gotten so much creepier, and they know what they're doing. It's not like this.
Yeah, they do.
This is why I think the whole nerd robber baron era is coming to an end. You know, there was a point in America, 100-year plus, where companies could do whatever they want, and then the government finally realized it. They're like, whoa, wait a second. And this area, they got the hoodies and the cool sneakers and the black turtlenecks.
Yeah,
and we don't realize that this is basically Rockefeller. It's the same. It's as cutthroat.
Yes, these are the most powerful business leaders in the world.
Right.
I mean,
which is why regulation is coming.
Right. Well, and you know what?
They don't have monocles and striped suits and look like Monopoly characters, but at the end of the day, that's who they are.
Yes, they are.
And regulation is coming, and I think they expect it. It's one of the reasons, we're looking at why the tech stocks are taking such a hit. And to me, this is one of the reasons, because no one really knows entirely what that's going to mean.
Right. How does the business model change with new regulatory environment and new fees, perhaps? We've got to also talk about Apple, because this has really been a source for this market. Bloomberg is reporting that Apple's biggest iPhone assembler, Foxconn, is planning some deep cost cuts. Lance, tell us about the supply issues around Apple. And, Dan Niles was here a couple of weeks ago who said inventory is up 89%. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, inventory should be up 89% in ways you're heading into the holiday buying season.
No, it was up 89% in the second quarter.
Okay. Okay, I'll start all this by saying don't bet against Apple. Okay, I've heard these stories before. I know that Foxconn is maybe changing the makeup of their workforce. And in fact, a lot of times what happens with Foxconn is they do bring in more robots as they automate some portions of what they're doing. I think even in the Wisconsin plant, as they're planning to hire, they're not hiring as many people as they thought, because they're going to be using a lot of automation to do it.
Yeah.
And I've also heard stories about the 10R. It's a dud. It's not working. People are not excited about it. I don't actually believe these stories. Now, I think that this is a really hard story to read right now, because we're heading into the holiday buying season. This is a very important time for Apple. They're going to sell a lot of these products. The 10R is the $749 version of the 10. It's the right size, the right price. We already know that the 10 sold like crazy, by the way. But here's the big problem, and here's where I don't know what to do, because we're going to have the first reporting quarter for Apple, where they don't tell us the unit sales for iPhones. They're not going to break it out. And I don't even know how to deal with that, because
supposed to be good?
I don't know. Well, I actually don't think it's good, because I think that it has turned everybody on their heads. They're thinking, what are they trying to signal here? Is this, are we totally flattening out on iPhone sales? I don't entirely think it's that, but I do think that we know that Apple's business is changing, right? Services is growing like crazy. It's a hugely important part of their business. And so are some of the other products, like the AirPods. Have you walked around the city lately? Every single person I know is wearing them. It's insane. It's a huge
until they
seller.
figure out they're not as good as like the Bose headphones.
Yes.
Which I bought because of you.
Thank you.
I prefer, and I also don't mind wires. By the way, you say don't bet against Apple. If you listen to Dan Niles on this program in October, he said avoid it over the short term because of the inventory problems. How much is it down in the last 3 weeks? Our viewers avoided.
Boom.
There you go. Lance, good to see you.
It was good to be here.
Lance Ulanoff.